received is the discussion and next steps around the proposed motion to consolidate with the Southern Berkshire Regional School District. Just from sort of a contextual standpoint, we sent letters to our 3 member towns and the 5 towns in the Southern Berkshire, as well as the Southern Berkshire School Committee. We got responses from the Southern Berkshire School Committee, and I believe the 4 towns in Southern Berkshire, except for Sheffield. And then of our 3 own member towns, we got responses from, or we didn't get a response from Stockbridge, but they discussed it and we read about it in the newspaper, so we're anticipating a letter. We've not heard back from West Stockbridge or Great Barrington. The letter referenced the 31st, so we've not hit that deadline yet, and that's context. Everybody's got a packet of all the responses and their copies up there. People didn't get that, and I think we sent it around electronically. Today's the 25th, so there's another 6 days of potential responses to get, and I leave it to Steve and Rich and the rest of the committee to talk about what we might want to do next.
So Great Barrington will put it on their August 12th agenda. We're a little late, but we'll get there.
You don't have a strong pair.
Well, that's true. That's the problem. He didn't read the letter because it was from someone important. Yes. But we will do that. I wanted to put this on the agenda just so we could check in and make sure that we're all on the same page. Obviously, we're not going to take any action necessarily tonight on this because it's we're not at the 31st. Hopefully, we'll hear from West Stockbridge and officially from Stockbridge and Sheffield before the 31st. Rich, you had some things to add?
Well, I agree. It's not right. Time's not up. We haven't heard from everybody. Everybody should have enough time to deal with it. But with the Southern Berkshire School District voting no, it kind of kills the whole deal.
They didn't necessarily vote no.
They voted no. They said it's premature. They voted no.
Well, they didn't say no to discussions. They said no.
Well, we didn't ask for discussion.
Right.
We didn't ask for discussion.
Right.
And we've asked for discussions many times. We've always had discussions.
Yeah.
We asked to form the committee that's required by the statute. And the problem is, I'm just reading from the statute, any town, and it can be, there's 2 ways you can form, only 2 ways you can form this committee. Either by majority vote of its board of selectmen and a majority vote of the school committee. So under the first way, even if all the Southern Berkshire towns voted for it, essentially their school committee has vetoed it. The second thing is or by vote of town meeting. So, they could all vote, their town meetings could vote and override that essentially. But I don't know where we go with them voting no.
I think what we do is we wait till everyone is in, all the letters are in, and we say, I would send a letter to Southern Berkshire that says that all of your member towns, hopefully all 5 have said yes, could you please reconsider? And then if they say no, then we ask the towns to bring it up at their next town meeting, whether it's part of the way that we would like. We're not gonna ask them to have a special town meeting.
Sure.
I don't know how everyone else feels. I think it's the best way to handle it.
And one other thing I'd offer, if it's the will of the committee, at the point when everything is in, is if you want me to reach out to MARS or MASC or one of those groups and ask them if they're interested in working with us, or the potential cost or parameters of working with us, so you could make a decision based on that. I'm happy to do that.
One other thing I would say, I read through some of the letters back, there seem to be concerns about like the constraints. The original motion said 9 through 12, and everybody voted in favor of it. When I made the motion, I thought it was a good start. I wasn't looking to put constraints on anything. That was kind of the sentiment.
Yeah.
That's what I explained to somebody who asked me about it.
Yeah,
I said that's a starting
nothing's off
point.
the table. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a starting point. I agree with Rich. I think we're getting the snub from South Berkshire, but they hold out hope in regards to, they say it would be wise to begin a conversation. Initial meeting would bring together representatives from both. A goal of this structured yet informal meeting would be to gain a better understanding to inform us about the possible paths forward. I think after the 31st, we could look at what are those possible paths forward with what Superintendent Dillon has just said in regards to setting up some sort of, I don't know, mediator, would you call it, or how?
Facilitator.
A facilitator.
A mediator connotes
Not-
a little
yeah.
like south.
Facilitator, that would, maybe that would encourage them a little. From looking at their discussion, I was not very optimistic. It started off, Terry's tape, I did the hour and 28-minute thing and started looking at it and followed the whole discussion. They seem to be, at least some of them, seem to be concerned that in 1991 they went down this path. And a couple of them said, you know, it didn't yield anything. And I said to myself, well, that's 28 years ago. And we got to change the thinking process. It came around again, and someone did mention, a newer member mentioned the educational opportunities that such a move could potentially yield. So there's hope, and I would hope that after the 31st, if they reconsider, we maybe accept them on an informal meeting, and we talk about education, and we don't talk about the past, and we don't talk about these slights that I don't know where they came up with these ideas that, you know, they've been disrespected and all that. I've been here for a long time, and I haven't heard that. So my suggestion is that we wait till the 31st. We go from there, and we maybe approach them on a halfway basis. We take, okay, this doesn't have to be a, quote, legal discussion, but maybe it is something about informal, but, I want to say informal but formal in a way, if you get what I'm saying.
Weren't we already doing that?
We are
I
already
don't know.
doing that.
I thought we were doing that.
Well, we haven't even met with them yet.
Now, before we make a decision, you know, we'll wait till the 31st. My concern is, if they think that, you know, in the 90s we did this, I think I've done this 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
No one's fault. That didn't work out. They were informal. I think Rich's proposal of making it more formal was more realistic. You know, 1 or 2 meetings with the chairs, the superintendent, school committee members, a few school committee members, all well and good, and that's where it always ends. You know, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm not gonna tell you I'm against it now. Maybe something is better than nothing, but that has been the history. It's never, all the meetings I've been to, there's never been hard feelings. They just never continued. So to your point, I don't know where the hard feelings were from.
Right.
They weren't, you know, I never saw that.
Right.
But we met and then we stopped meeting. And in a formal, more formal process, you would end up agreeing not to meet anymore if you know, came to the end of it, so that there was a structured ending, or
Right.
hopefully not.
And a finality you're talking about.
Yeah,
I like
as
that.
opposed to,
Yeah.
this meeting until you kind of say, well.
Yeah, okay.
We're
I think
busy.
that's where Rich was coming from with the motion too. I explained to somebody that it's, let's, you know, almost put up or shut up, right? It's a formal process, and there's gotta be an answer, yes or no.
Well,
It
the
can't be.
process exists, and since it exists,
There's a reason it exists.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, and I think that's where Rich was coming.
Yeah.
There's a reason it exists, and that's to make it a formal process and not just a bunch of people sitting around a table chatting.
Yeah.
It's to set out what's expected, what everybody's supposed to do.
Yeah. And
Instead of just,
it doesn't give a prescribed ending either. The
Yeah.
ending may be, no, it's not gonna work, or
Yeah.
maybe it is, but
Well,
it's
It
just
also,
more formal.
it also includes the people who pay the bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is,
I mean, it
that's,
really
that's
is
the
a meeting of the
significant
town, yeah,
difference.
Yeah.
exactly. And this to be, you know, the 14A, the second section of the statute, it shall be the duty of the regional school district planning board to study the fiscal and educational advisability of establishing a regional district, blah, 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 blah. And its only charge is to submit a report of its findings and recommendations to the selectmen of the several towns. So it's a totally advisory, non-binding thing. It's to study these 2 things we keep talking about, fiscal and educational, and then make a report.
Yeah,
And the report, maybe it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
yeah, it's not gonna force anyone to do something that's, in the end, is not a good idea for the students.
Yes.
So, okay, I think we're all on the same page, and we'll hope that this moves along.
wanna go to the subcommittee reports?
I think we'll go to the subcommittee reports. Policy